You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG. Bordy, we got a lot of stuff to get to tonight.
We do, man. This might be a little bit of a lengthy episode, but let's jump in here and knock this bad boy out.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're gonna no nonsense right into the patch notes, guys. If you missed the March patch notes, there is a ton of information. Go over to New World Fans. We got it up over there, the official New World website, where we're gonna be covering it all week on the channel. Over here, we made a bunch of videos last week, of course, too. So yeah, guys, tons of New World content. So we're gonna hop right in here. First and foremost, Bordy. Obviously, they added Ebonscale Reach to the alpha thing. We've covered Ebonscale Reach at nauseum on the podcast and on our channel. So we're gonna move on from that. But just know that Ebonscale Reach, the in-game zone, is now in the game, like officially. So the zone is playable for alpha players. All right, Bordy. So the next thing that they added was, speaking of Gary, he just busted in the room. New World Expedition. Now, the new expedition is Gardens of Genesis. Garden of Genesis is an expedition leading to the birthplace of the Angry Earth. It is a expedition that is located in Eden Grove. The zone that we all know is on the northern part of the map, or at least it was in the preview event. I don't think they moved Eden Grove at this point in time. So that will be present, Bordy. It seems like more of an in-game expedition than the one they first released, the Amarine expedition, which was level 25. This seems to be in the heart of the in-game area of the map.
Yeah, looks like a lot of fun. Sounds like a lot of fun, rather, with the Angry Earth. The Angry Earth is some of my favorite mobs in the game, so I'm ready to see what that's about and ready to see the lore behind the Angry Earth. Sounds dope, dude, and I agree. It's probably more of an in-game... sounds like it's probably more of an in-game dungeon, in-game expedition, based on what we have here, yeah.
Yeah, so, there are some prerequisites, Bordy, and here's something that I do want to do. I want to ask you real quick before we move on to the general patch notes. What do you think about these quests that they're kind of having as prerequisites? Kind of like, it reminds me of being attuned for like a raid or a dungeon in early WoW, like classic WoW. What do you think about these prerequisites to be able to run these dungeons or expeditions?
I think they're fine, man. They probably give you a little bit of the lore behind the dungeon leading up to why you're running the dungeon, and I think that's fine, because if you just run up there and jump right into the dungeon, there's no lead up to it, right? There's no backstory before you get in there. You just go in there, and then it'd probably be fine either way, I guess, because once you get into the dungeon, they could kind of give you the backstory along the way in there. I think ESO does kind of a good job doing that, but I think the quests are fine, man. I don't have a problem with them.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting and cool that they're locked behind some quest chains, because it just adds you like you said, adds a little bit of a story before you go in, a reason why you're going in. And as far as we know, Bordy, there's not going to be any dungeon finder or anything like that in the game, so it does kind of allow you to discover the location of the expedition through a quest, which I think is really cool as well.
Yeah.
All right, dude. So into the general patch notes. Now, man, they really I guess every month that they put these out, you kind of expect maybe we're going to get to hear about a new expedition or a new weapon or something like that. But they really are hard at work at the game, dude. There are tons of changes here, things that we didn't even know we should expect. And the first one is, of course, they added in, finally, Outpost Rush to the alpha. So now Outpost Rush is in an in-game PvP game mode. Now, they didn't say that before, so that's new information to us, Bordy. What do you think about another in-game PvP activity?
I hope it doesn't stay that way. It says introduce the first version of Outpost Rush, so I would hope that this is just kind of their first iteration on it. Maybe they're testing it in alpha with the higher end players that have better builds or whatever. I don't know, but I hope that it's not going to be in just an end-game PvP mode whenever the game actually launches. I hope that they're just kind of using this to flesh it out, and then they'll add in, maybe level requirements. I think it's fine to have like a 0 to 10 Outpost Rush, maybe a 10 to 20, every 10 level increments, something that you could queue up for. And we don't even know how you get in Outpost Rush still yet. Maybe you don't even queue up for it. Who knows? But it says they're going to have more information about Outpost Rush in the next update, so hopefully we get more there, and we know how you queue up for it, if it's only going to be in game or if it's going to be something you could do to level, because that's what I would like to do. I would like to have a way to PvP and level up, and right now with it just being in game, you can't do that. So I hope that they change that.
Agreed. And I guess they may consider the PvP missions or activities or quests a way to level up through PvP, but they're definitely taking attention away from those, unfortunately, and we'll read more about that later on. So now the main story quest, they did update the main story quest through level 40 now, so that it goes from level, obviously, 1, from you first set into the starter beaches up until level 40. And dude, all of these are voice acted. Dude, I'm excited about this part because this adds yet another layer to the leveling experience in New World.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I would imagine they'll keep iterating on the main story. It'll probably go all the way through level 60 and then beyond. I would imagine whenever they implement, expansions and whatnot as the game progresses. But I like it, man. The main story is coming along nice. That's something that was missing very heavily from the preview event and from previous versions of the game, was just a main story to run through. There was a lot of side quests, a lot of missions that we had to do, faction missions, but the main story left a lot to be desired. So I'm glad they're working on that. And then voiceover, bro, that's amazing. Like that's what I'm talking about there. That's what we need. That's kind of the new standard for MMOs, in my opinion. Whenever you release an MMO in 2021, I think you should have voiced story quests. Like why not right now? Unless you're on a super tight budget and it's some indie MMO, but this is a AAA MMO that should have, I think, those types of features in the game on release, and I'm so glad that they're doing that. I love it, man. Yes. Voiceover quests, dude. Let's go.
Yeah, nice. Fluff reading. That's what I say. Okay, so they added, now here's the new addition, also to the main story quests, they have new armor and weapon quests. So they've added new weapon quests as a journey to craft and obtain rare armor and weapons starting at level 40. So this is interesting, Bordy, because these are the first crafting quests that I recall seeing in New World, and it seems like they're adding quite a bit of them.
Yeah, I'm a little confused about the addition of these quests, and I guess we'll go through the patch notes as we move on. But it says here that they're not in contention for best in slot. They start at level 40, so it's not going to hurt the market for in-game crafters. So what is the point for these quests? Maybe do you get some good weapon or armor at level 40 that you can equip that's better than stuff you loot? Or like, I'm not really understanding what the purpose behind these are. Because there's legendary quests in the game already to get legendary weapons and gear, or I guess legendary weapons. You can't really get legendary armor, but legendary weapons. So what is this gear going to be? Like, what purpose is this gear going to serve? I don't know. I'm just a little confused by these. I guess we'll have to see. I'm not real sure.
Yeah, it goes to wonder. It seems like they're crafting oriented to teach people how to craft these particular, maybe there are patterns or something that you can always, once you learn, do the quest, you now know how to craft that particular piece of weapon or armor. It could be something like that. I think it would be pretty cool. But yeah, I'm with you. Like if it is just like a quest for a piece of gear or armor that I'm not going to wear, what is the purpose of it?
Yeah, but it does say, and I guess we'll get to it in a minute, unique quest recipes with no skill requirement are given for each armor item. So you then learn how to craft that piece of armor. So that's useful for running the quest. Yeah, I would do that for sure to get the recipe, but the rest of it, I'm not real sure, man. I don't know. I'm a little confused by the addition of this. It is more stuff to do in the game, so that's good.
Yeah, and I've always thought it'd be cool, like, having quests or particular recipes that drop or maybe you obtain through a quest that you craft a unique piece of armor or gear that you could only craft if you finish this. I think that's a cool idea, but we'll see how they execute it. So they also added, here are the armor quests here, Bordy. There is a quest chain consisting of 5 child quests. Okay. Which will guide players to forge each piece of this set. Each successive quest requires a new player threshold, so it seems like you'll be, at 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60, you'll be progressively getting new quests of this particular set. Each quest recipe has no skill requirements that are given for each armor item. Players can craft these items after gathering the required ingredients. So these quests, they go on to say like where you get them from. And then they mention that each item in the set contributes to a set bonus, which will confer increased stats depending on the number of armor pieces given to the set that are equipped. Now, Bordy, I think this is probably one of the most interesting things in the patch notes as a whole. That last sentence, set bonuses, Bordy. What do you think about set bonuses?
I think that's cool, man. I like set bonuses. I like that a lot, actually, because it diversifies builds a lot. It gives you a lot more opportunity to customize your build the way you want it. I think we've talked about set bonuses on here before, and I enjoy set bonuses. If they're implemented correctly, you can't make it to where like I know. And we always reference ESO, but ESO has set bonuses too. There's kind of similarities there. And they had proc sets in the game for a long time that were incredibly strong. So you got to be careful with the set bonuses. You got to be careful with balancing those things, obviously. But I like the idea of set bonuses for sure. I think they're good. And just to be clear, like these new weapon and armor quests, I'm not opposed to them. I think they're fine to add. And I think that I may be misunderstanding these because whenever I read through this the first time, I just thought that these dropped the actual piece of gear. Is that what it does, Red? Does it drop the actual piece of gear, or is it just the recipe that you get?
It teaches you the recipe, and then you get through the quest, you get the items to craft it.
Okay.
So I believe they're unique items that you get from the quest to craft this item. So maybe you can't craft this item again. Who knows?
Okay, so
it seems like
guides
more of a
the players
tutorial for like like crafting or
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
it's just
guides
weird
the
that they're
players
doing
to
it
forge
in
each
game,
piece.
right? Like why wouldn't they have these type of quests like at the beginning of the game? Like here's how you craft the chest. This is where you craft your heavy chest piece, or this is where you craft your light armor piece, or this is how you craft a potion. I don't know. Maybe there's more to these that we're initially figuring out. But I like the idea of crafted set bonuses for sure. Like you said, we've talked about it on the podcast before, and this set bonuses, if done right, because I agree with you that some of the procking sets in new ESO are toxic. Like you're just worried about procking that, and then you can abuse the proc, or it's all RNG. Like there's no really, you're just trying to build up for that one proc. I don't like things like that, but you can add some really cool bonuses to these set pieces that maybe, have to do with attributes or maybe a particular weapon or a skill in a weapon, something like that. Could be really interesting. So we'll see if they progress further into the set bonus thing, but I'm excited that they're trying to do it.
These say that it confers increased stats depending on the number of armor pieces. So I'm assuming you just get stats at the moment. Attribute points would be my guess, and not actually like anything that procs or anything like that. So the more I read into this, the more that this makes a little more sense to me, that you get the recipes and it's a crafting thing. For whatever reason, I had it in my mind whenever I first read through this that it was just an item that dropped, and that's not the case at all. This makes these infinitely more cooler now that it's like it's still a little odd, but it makes it way better that it's recipes you get, and then those recipes teach you like a piece that gives you a set bonus. You can mix and match those a lot better, man. So yeah, I think these are probably a good addition to the game. More stuff to do, more things to craft. More, I think these will be good actually.
Yeah, and they added. I'm not like the child quest. I've never heard that term used before. I think
it just means a quest inside of the larger quest, right? So you got to complete like 3 different steps, or
so
3 different.
The Azoth staff used to be like that, to where like there was always a progressive or ongoing Azoth quest, but then it said it basically just told you go complete this quest. The next step is to complete this quest. The next step is to complete this quest. Okay, so it's probably something like that, I would guess.
Yeah, 3 quests, and then you'll be able to forge the weapon.
Sure.
Basically.
Sure. So yes, like we had hinted, there are weapon quests of the same nature. They didn't say anything about these belonging to any of those set pieces, but they are there. There's 5 new added quests that will allow you to craft these weapons. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
So progression updates. So here we go, Bordy. Here's some interesting stuff for the way you level up in New World. They decreased the XP required to level from 8 to 60 by 10%. So not a ton. But it is a step in a different direction because as of this point, all we've seen them do is nerf the way you get XP, which, by relationship, basically tell us that it's going to take longer to get to max level. So they've taken a step back, it looks like, in this note.
Yeah, which I would imagine is all based on alpha feedback, right? So it's probably taken a long time to level in alpha. People are probably complaining or it needed tuning for whatever reason. And so now they're decreasing the XP required to level from 8 to 60 by 10%. I'm good with that, dude. Hey, let me level faster, man. I'm fine with that.
Right. I agree with you 100% on that. I think some people disagree, though. I guess it just depends on how long does it take to get to 60.
I think there's a good balance, man. There has to be a good balance. You don't want to rush to 60, and you want to be able to enjoy the game as you level up. And I'm not one of those players that just likes the power level either. I like to enjoy the game and learn it as I go, but I also don't want to take, 10 months to get the max level so I can enjoy in-game content,
Yeah, I am a person that likes to rush, but I don't want to get there in a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even if I do rush, I don't want to be like, oh, well, I'm done leveling and it's a new game. As a new game and as a vanilla new world, I think it's fine to take a little bit, but like you said, I don't want to be on here 3 or 4 hours every night for 10 months and then not hit max level. I think that also kind of feels bad because by that time, they probably have some new content to experience that I will be left out on and all that jazz. So here's a big Debbie Downer for anybody who likes PvP. Decrease XP from PvP missions by 5% to 18%. So another nerf to XP or the PvP faction missions, Bordy.
That's a huge hit, man. They already decreased it once, and now they're coming in and decreasing it again. It's like they're pushing people away from doing the PvP faction missions. There's already risk involved in that because whenever if you go out and you accept like 3 or 4 PvP faction missions, you go out and you die, then you lose all your progress. Like if you accept 3 PvP faction missions, you go out, you complete all 3, and then on your way back you die, you lose all that progress. It's like they're almost discouraging open world PvP at this point because they keep just pushing down XP from these faction missions. So this has to tie in somehow to the new news that we're supposed to get about factions at some point. And I hope it's really good news because every time I see this, I'm just like left scratching my head wondering, is this still a PvP like territory control game? Like, because why do they keep doing? It blows my mind, man. I'm not real sure, but I'm not going to get tilted yet because I don't know what they have in store for factions. You know what I mean? Everything else they're doing so far is really, really good changes to the game. So we'll see. I have faith that the faction system somehow is going to be really good. But I just don't understand it yet. With this decrease in XP makes no sense to me.
Yeah, so maybe it is related to the like a lot of people in the preview event were like spamming PvP missions is like the best way to level, the most effective way of the level, and they're trying to like bring that back down to make sure that every activity is about the same effective way to to level, because you also have the PvP faction quests serving a purpose in the undermining of territories. So maybe we don't want this to stand out as the best way to level and the way you undermine territories. Just kind of like for a while, or during the preview event, some people were spamming portals, and then like portals, you're also is a very good source of Azoth and gold. So then like people, that's just like the most efficient way to progress. And so like I guess you run into some problems if like there's always this one dominant activity, and maybe they felt like PvP faction missions were that, so they're kind of trying to bring it back into line. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe
we will see. And I'm with you, dude. I'm going to withhold my rage until I know what the faction or like what the new faction territory system is, or what the changes to the territory system are, and then I'll rant later.
Yeah.
Or maybe
we won't have to rant. Maybe we'll be praising them,
dude. Yeah. I'm excited now. If I'm gonna be happy, or I'm gonna be. Yeah, I'll always be anxious until we find out. So players killing weaker. Now this is an interesting change here, Bordy. Players killing weaker creatures now suffer diminishing returns for XP gain. For 40% of creatures, 10 to 19. Okay, so here are the decreases in XP gain. 40% for creatures 10 to 19 levels below them, and 80% for levels 20 plus below. So basically, it's going to be very unfruitful for people to go farm mobs lower level than them.
Well, yeah, which is fine because you don't want level 50 players running around in a level 20 zone just training all the mobs and just mowing them down so that your level 20 players are not able to kill those level 20 mobs. Like, that doesn't make sense. So this is a good change, man. They needed it. They needed this in the game. You shouldn't be able to go farm up a ton of XP from just training around 80 mobs that you can one shot. Like, it's not a good way to level. It's not fun gameplay. So this is a good change for sure.
It's fun, but it's not something you want in the game. Yeah, it's not true. Something you want in the game. Yeah, because like you said, it just basically leads to, higher level people coming and taking the quest items or people from other people, which is not exactly what you want. All right, so as a reminder, the skull icon is on people level 10 levels higher than you. And so then these are, and they've mentioned this before, but just to reiterate here, I think they will outright kill a player, so you won't get knocked, or knocked down, or on death's door. You'll basically immediately die if you lose all your XP or HP. And so then they can see you from further away, which I thought was pretty interesting, dude. I love this. This brings back like the old school MMO feel. That, like, if you're in a zone that you shouldn't be in, you're in danger. You're going to have a rough day if you do go or step over your boundaries.
Yeah, so they also said that the skull icon was displayed when an enemy was 6+ levels above the player, so not displayed when an enemy is 10+ levels above the player. So they adjusted that a little bit. So you can see all the way up to, like, I guess 9 levels above you, and then anything above that, like 10+ levels above you, they're going to have a skull icon, and you won't know what level they are.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah. All right, so loot and gear. Here are the changes to loot and gear that they made in this system. Adjusted drop logic so that weapons are more likely to drop with attributes that are directly relevant to the weapon. So for say, and this is something we'll talk about later on, but if your great axe scales off of strength, then it's going to have hopefully strength or constitution as a stat on the weapon, which I think is good, man, because
Well, yeah, it's not useful to have a great axe with plus 15 focus on it. What are you going to do with that?
Throw it away.
I get. Yeah, I mean, yeah, scrap it.
Make
but
repair
use it to repair
parts.
your other gear.
Yeah,
True,
exactly.
Which we need, but it's this is a good change. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd much rather have variants and attributes that are effective than ones that aren't. So, like, I might get one with like 4 strength and 10 con, or 7 con, 7 strength. I like that sort of randomness versus like, oh, here is a fire staff with dexterity, something that's completely useless. Then there's no thought involved with that draw, and it's impossible to be excited about because, I mean, like you said, it's just a repair part. Sorry. Okay, so basically, the next thing that they change are increase the chances of items dropping with a gem slot, so they are the same as the chances of rolling other perks or attributes. So, Bordy, the way that they've kind of spell this out is gem slots are basically another, so you have, say, you have your uncommon, rare, all of those different steps up, and each one rolls an extra perk or gem slot on it. So it seems like they're increasing the amount of times or amount of instances where you can actually roll a gem slot in these particular attribute spaces. So I think overall a good change, man. And it should help the economy as well.
Yeah, I would think so. That was my first thought whenever I seen this. Is like that should help the economy a little bit, because in the preview event you couldn't do anything with your gems once you slotted them. I think they were slotted, and then you had to just destroy the gem if you got rid of that piece of gear, or if you destroyed that piece of gear. So then you have to go buy a new gem. So that's good. So the more pieces of gear that have gem slots on there, the more people are going to be buying gems, and keeps everything rolling. It's good.
Yes, agreed. So due to the this is a quick note under here. Due to the I don't know what
multiplicative.
Yeah, okay. Multiplicative nature of drop calculation, this will also affect the odds of items rolling additional bonuses. So expect to see an increase in the natural, rare, and epic rolls at the tiers they're available. So, again, dude, is there anything better in an MMO than looking on the ground and looking at mob's corpse and seeing a cool, like, rare or epic or legendary drop on the ground? I'm glad.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah,
I'm glad that they had this in here, and dude, they already have plans to keep crafting viable. So I think all of this together is gonna make for a good gearing experience in New World. So I'm excited for these changes.
Yeah.
So they added an additional named items as expedition drops. So they did give a list of the drops that were available in the Amarine expedition. The toothpick and all of those named weapons. So they're adding more, which I think is really good. Again, more loot, please. No matter what the variant, I'm excited about that. So.
Yeah, that's good. We talked about that in our Emerine expedition video that we did, that we were worried that because the only drop we seen was that little toothpick rapier, and we were worried that might be the only drop. So I'm really glad they addressed this, because it might have been the only drop before, but now it's not. So now there's a lot of items you can get, which then gives you a reason to go run the dungeon more than once, which is another thing we were worried about. So that addresses that issue too, which is nice.
If the named items have some sort of unique trait, because that we don't know about that yet, and the pictures they showed us were common weapons, so it's like, okay, it's named.
I don't think that's gonna be the case, though.
I think
that, I don't think. I bet. I'm
so. What,
sure
like
it's not.
You can roll a toothpick at common or legendary? It just depends. Like, that's just interesting.
Not legendary, because you have to run the legendary quests to get legendary items. I doubt that the bosses and expeditions drop legendary items. I would imagine those are still going to be reserved specifically for the legendary quests to get those items, because right now that's the only way to get them. So I would think that these are going to be, all the way up to maybe a purple tier gear. Maybe.
Sure, if it's available at that tier.
Right. Yeah. And then hopefully they do have different roles on the gear, because then that would give you a reason to run it even more so, because now you can go get a wider variety of named items. But what if you get the item that doesn't have the perks on it you want? You'd have to go run it over and over and over until you got that lucky drop. So that's the type of things they need to add to give you reason to continue to run it over and over.
Well, and
it's not just like a one and done.
Yeah, and I think a unique particular trait or perk on there would be even, like, maybe one of them is static and it's like unique to the toothpick, so maybe it increases bleeding damage by 3%. So then maybe, like, if you're wanting to run a bleed build or whatever, then you would definitely want to farm that out. Things like that are very interesting and unique to me, and that's the reason why you would want to run an expedition more than once, like you're saying. But if the gear is not as good, kind of like, I guess, our fear with the weapon and armor quest that we mentioned earlier, then there becomes less of a reason to want to do these over and over again. So here is the next note. After level 10, quest rewards containers for armor and weapons will always result in an item of uncommon rarity or higher. So no more grade drops, dude, out of the armor and weapon chests.
That's a good thing.
That is a good thing. Again, those are, I think, random still, but at least they'll be higher quality. Adjusted drop logic of large chests. So they drop between 2 and 3 gear pieces. And these are if you're unfamiliar, if you didn't play the preview event, these are like the biggest. They have like a stockpile, or they have different names than the other chests in the game. But these are the big lootable chests all over Aeternum.
Yeah, good change, man. I like that. 2 to 3 gear pieces. Who doesn't want more loot? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Bring it on.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that's good for the economy. That's good for for getting repair parts. That's good for a lot of things, I think, because before, if you find a large chest, there's not a ton of them out there, right? It's not like you come across a large chest all the time. So coming across a large chest should be something like, oh, I want to go loot that. That's a pretty it's a pretty good loot container. Whereas before in the preview event, it was like it's just basically the same as everything else, but I'm gonna go loot it anyway.
Right.
It's cool. Yeah, it should be different. I like that.
And it seemed like most of the locations of those heavy chests were like oriented around like a boss or something, like an open world boss that you had to beat or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And that may be, may have been bad for the economy if it wasn't for this change, Bordy. All equipable items are now either bind on equip or bind on pickup. So, Bordy, this is an important step to protect our item economy and keep demand for quality items high. By ensuring that an item, once equipped, is removed from the economy by being bound to a player and unable to be resold, we create a space in the economy for similar items to be sold to other players on the trading post or scrap for repair parts. Dude, this is low-key one of the better changes they made, I think, because this, again, opens up the economy and prevents someone from wearing a piece of gear until they don't need it anymore and then selling it.
Yeah, this has been a concern for a very long time in terms of like the economy loop, because items are not destroyable in the game. So it's like, what are they going to do to address that? And this says that this is an important step to protect the item economy. So they are addressing that, and I would imagine I would fully expect to see more changes like this continuing to be implemented in the future to kind of protect that loop, because that's been a big question mark in a lot of people's minds. Is like, how is the economy even going to continue to work after people are max level? And so this is a good step in the right direction. I think in my mind, the optimal thing still is to make items just destroy after a certain amount of time. But they're aware, man, and they're fixing it, or they're taking steps to try to fix it and make the economy something that's really good in New World. So good.
Yes, great changes there. Last note under this category, they updated the look of some armor pieces dropped by ancient enemies in the open world, including a tier 5 light armor, heavy armor, and 3 to 4 medium armor variants. All good things, dude. We want players to look unique. We don't everyone want to look like a clone. And by adding different appearances to these pieces, I think the more the merrier, again, on these particular items.
Yeah.
All right, on to the crafting and gathering category. So they updated drop rates for rare gathering resources. I think that's good. They've added a lot of different resources from the last update that they mentioned. They did a massive update. I think that was January. They overhauled the crafting and gathering system. So they're just continuing to increase. They're titrating these drop rates to make them make sense for these rare materials. But that's obviously a good thing. And they mentioned that drops are now less rare and more heavily impacted by luck bonuses, Bordy. So if you're going to want to farm out these things as a gatherer or crafter efficiently, you're going to need a specific set to do so, and I love that.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's a great change. I think that's a great change for sure. I don't know that luck really affected a lot of things before, but now, having a full luck gear, a full suit of gear that has luck on it, should be pretty valuable, and I like that a lot. Yeah.
And when a drop occurs, it drops a quantity range instead of just a single item. So again, just probably making adjustments from alpha feedback here. With these rare items. So the next change is adjusted the crafting requirements of named items to accommodate the additional rare gathering resources that multiple drops will create. So again, just adjustments seems from the crafting and gathering changes that we got, which is good. They're already, I like to see this. This is the most encouraging part, I think, about the crafting and gathering changes is they made a massive sweeping changes to the systems in January, and they're already noticing flaws and readjusting them. So that, I think, at least is encouraging for, a live client, right? That they can respond this quickly and make changes to adjust things as needed.
Yeah, they're working hard to get it right, man.
They adjusted refining requirements for precious metals to reflect the same pattern as mundane metals. A lot of these aren't going to mean a ton for us because a lot of us haven't played the new crafting update. But we'll read through the high points here. Added a new set of crafting modifiers that allow you to apply a specific attribute roll on an item when crafted.
Yeah, that's good.
So this is very good, Bordy, because, again, a lot of the randomness in crafting can be discouraging for people, I think. You went to go and gather all the rare resources that you need to craft a particular named item, and then you roll the worst stat possible. And that's kind of a feels bad moment.
Yeah.
But this seemed to correct that a little bit. There's a way to modify that, which I think is cool.
Yeah, very good change.
So they also stated that they added attribute crafting modifiers that can upgrade by skilled crafters to apply more powerful bonuses on high tier items. Here's a quick note that the tier of the item being crafted ultimately restricts the level of bonuses that can be applied. So using a higher level crafting modifier on a low tier item won't necessarily result in the better bonus. So dude, what do you think about these changes here? I just crafting and gathering is very important to a lot of players, I think, and they just continue to refine this, man. And I think there were a lot of people that really enjoyed the crafting system before, and they just continue to make it better.
I think these are all steps in the right direction, man. I think that crafting did need a huge overhaul from the preview event until now, and they've addressed that in a major way. I think crafting is going to be something that is going to be a staple in the game. I think that New World is probably going to have one of the better crafting systems out of any MMO once it releases, based on a lot of these changes, man. I really feel like crafters are going to be very happy with the final product, just based on these changes on paper and everything that we've read up to this point. It seems like crafting is going to be really good. And it's something that we were very concerned about early on, because it really needed a lot of love, a lot of work. The economy wasn't that good. And now they're continuing to address all of these. And all these changes are good, in my opinion. They're steps in the right direction.
Agreed. Here's something interesting, Bordy. They added a new item called the Transmutation Catalyst, that is used for upgrading an attribute crafting modifier, and those can be found on the faction shops. Bordy, I know a lot of people kind of complained about the availability of items on the faction shops and how poor they were relative to what level you needed to unlock them, and then the cost, obviously, both gold and faction coins, which seemed a little absurd as well. But now they have a unique item that's going to allow you to modify your crafting, these crafters are going to need to earn some faction points as well.
Yeah, again, I think that's an awesome change, dude. I like that they're adding new items like that to the game, especially to the faction shop, because in the preview event, the faction shop was basically useless, if we're being real honest here. I mean, I don't know of anyone who really used the faction shop, the gear in there.
That's about it.
Other than potions, yeah, because you could buy your corrupted tinctures there, which were useful, and then your healing tinctures there, but beyond that, dude, the gear that was in there and the other items that were in there, no one needed them. So you'd stack up all of these faction tokens, and then you'd have nothing to spend them on. So I love the fact that they're adding Transmutation Catalyst. That's super cool to me. And then on top of that, they're adding that to the faction shop, which makes the faction shop even more useful. Dude, I think that's great. I like it a lot.
I agree. Anything that they can do to, again, add some life and flavor and purpose in the faction system, the way you game doing the quests and the PvP quests and spending this secondary currency, I think the better. Dude, I would love to see them change the fact that these cost gold too, honestly, in the future, but we will see. I think the one currency is enough.
Yep, I agree. It shouldn't cost gold; should just cost faction tokens, because I agree with that for sure.
But maybe, who knows, in the future of the game, or maybe at in-game, they notice that there needs to be some more gold sinks, and that's the purpose.
Maybe.
We will see.
Yeah, maybe.
So here we go. Remove the ability to salvage elemental essence down to their lower
elephants.
Elephants, yeah. And also elemental essences down to their lower tiers. So instead of skilled arcanists can upgrade elemental essence to higher tiers. So this is interesting. This is an interesting change, Bordy, because you used to be able to break down like tier 5 ones into tier 4 ones and et cetera, et cetera. But now they took that away, and now you can use low tier ones to build higher tier ones, which I think is also, again, another good change.
Yeah, I think so. I like it a lot. That way, whenever if you have to be higher skill to be able to do that, which makes that crafting profession even more valuable. It's good stuff.
Yeah, not only that, but it should put, just at some point, all of those tier 1 are going to be pretty obsolete. And this kind of, gives a purpose or a reason to have them. And maybe even they might, be so rare at tier 5 that, you have to find a good arcanist to get one, which I think is also good for crafting.
Yeah,
in general.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now those lower level zones, going there and gathering up all those materials or those essences is still valuable. You still want to go get them, and that's excellent. Yeah, that's a great point.
Primary ingredients of procedural crafting are now constrained to their tier. So we were seeing some confusion on how the system worked in regards to changing the tier of the primary ingredient. Resulted in changing the entire recipe. So secondary ingredients can still use any tier. Okay, so this just means the primary ingredient. So basically, if you're using tier 2 leather, you're going to get a tier 2 leather piece of gear. And then all the secondary ingredients will kind of change the gear score or whatever. But overall, I think it's a fine change. I did think, as if you can make it less confusing by still keeping the complex nature of it, I think it's fine. And it seems like what they did here, which is basically just make more sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So unmask the variety of secret ingredients in the ingredient selector on the crafting screen. Players should now be able to see the various ways rare resources like Fey Iron can be used, even without having the resource, which I think that's another good change, Bordy, because it can kind of help you see, like, well, if I could craft this chest piece now, or I could go farm Fey Iron, and then it'll have this unique trait, or maybe double the gear score or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, having secret ingredients sometimes is kind of cool, I guess, but I'm not a huge fan of that. I like this better so that you can see like the various ways that can be used, even when you don't have the resources. It gives you something to work for, I think, and lets you know that that's the ingredient you need. And sometimes it's a little bit frustrating to not know those things, and to me it kind of takes away from the experience a little bit whenever you don't know what's going on versus whenever you do know, or it does for me anyway. Some people might like having that stuff hidden and just trying to figure it out as they go, but I like it, man. I think this is much better. Yeah,
it doesn't tell you where to find it. I still think that's a fun part of the game where you got to go learn how to obtain that resource, but at least you know that it's possible to use or that it exists. I could see that going both ways with people, but that is how it is right now. So if you don't like that, then provide feedback. Where it's not too late. Tier 2 craftable named magic staves now grant attribute bonuses that directly benefit their performance. Kind of ties into the other ones. Reduced crafting ingredients required for rare repair kits. Also good because needing those sucks. That's like one of the worst experiences I had in New World was having broken gear and not being able to repair it. So you basically have to run around naked. Yeah, the addition of repair kits was really, really good in general, because now you can create repair kits and sell those on the market, and then people can buy those to repair their gear, versus before salvage parts you couldn't do anything with them. You couldn't trade them. You just had to break down stuff to get them. So that's good. And then reduce the crafting ingredient requirements for them. I don't know what they were before, but apparently they were tuned up too high, and so now they reduced them. That's, it's hard to speak on that without really knowing it and crafting it, before. I have no idea what it took to craft a repair kit. Right. Yeah. Because they never told us. And that's the thing. They're basically making these changes based off of alpha feedback. Yeah, which we don't know. Observation, right? They may not be getting feedback, but they may notice like, hey, there aren't many repair kits being crafted, so we need to figure that out. Right. Increase the attribute bonuses provided by food at each tier. I think that's cool. Tuned health recovery food buffs to recover more health and adjust the burst healing time from 10% to 20%. It now also has a status effect to more clearly explain the mechanic.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, so basically prevents people from eating food like potions.
Yeah.
So adjusted buff durations on food, potions, and coatings so that the higher tiers last longer in addition to being more effective. I think that's really cool. Good change, in my opinion.
Should work that way, yeah.
Yeah, I added, because, dude, if I eat a steak, I'm going to be more full than if I eat a blueberry or something like that. Yo, for sure. I don't know what I'm talking about, dude. Added material converters to the faction shop. Material converters can be used to alchemically, thank you, sir. Converted refining.
I got you.
I'm just gonna butcher it if I try, so I'm just gonna. Maybe I need like a drop or like some sounder. Like if I need you to pronounce something, I'll just push the button, and then we'll have to work that out. Can be used alchemically. Convert refining reagents such as sandpaper to another refining reagent with a small loss of efficiency. Currently, the ratio that they have in the game is 4-3. So if you have 4 sandpaper and you want to make it into solvent or whatever the other thing is, you're going to lose a rate you'll take 4 to get 3. So the action requires the use of one of the refining stations in a settlement. Dude, another great change for the faction shop. And I would love to see these items exclusively stay on the faction shops because I think that, again, helps build purpose behind each faction.
Yeah, I think this is a great change, and I would agree. I hope they do stay on the faction shop. But adding stuff like this in general, like the material converter to me is very awesome because the way you get material in the game is just kind of random from those crates. So there's really no like tried and true way to go get a very specific ingredient if you're looking for one. So then having a way to go buy something to be able to then craft and convert material to another material is awesome for the game. I think that's really, really good. And then having a sync, a faction token sync to have to go buy that item, the material converter, to then use it to convert is even better, man. Very, very good, dude. I love it, man. The adding the transmutation catalyst and the material converters are both very good changes to the game.
Yes, not only that, but I do like the loss of they don't convert 1-to-1, which I think is
they
good.
Shouldn't. Yeah. I don't think they should. There should be a penalty for converting one to the other, but it is nice that you can get something. You're right. It is possible, and that's what's really good. I like it a lot. Yeah.
Yes. So they did make some fishing tuning and polishes, polish fishing quests, objectives, and improve the rewards, including new fishing armor with new perks and special fishing pools. Give me it all, please.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
I look forward to the day where I'm max level, don't have a ton to do that I can progress
you
on.
Just fish.
I just want to fish. Yo, dude, for real.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. So added rarities and tiers to fish fillets to support fish rarity and bolster procedural cooking as well as general salvaging item improvements, and added fishing projects to territory projects. So, dude, now you can pick up a project from the project board that'll say, go catch 5 fish or something, which is dope.
It's awesome, man. All great. Yeah.
I'm all about that. All right, moving quickly on to the UX UI system here. Inventory update. We are implementing some improvements to the inventory screen for this release. We changed the screen's overall presentation. Added a full character view, so a paper doll for players to inspect their loadouts in full glory. You get to see a full picture of your armor and equipped armor, how you look with your dope new helmet, or maybe your not so dope looking fluffy wig that you have. I know some of those helmets cracked me up, dude. It's basically like I'm gonna equip this white wig and that's gonna protect my head from a fireball. I don't know about that, brother. So added a new dynamic layout that keeps your inventory closest to your equipment for more convenient drag and drop. Awesome. All icons have been updated to a single size grid squares, allowing more compact formatting and multiple screening. I like that as well. The weapon slots were oversized, and now they've fixed those to make the paper doll look better. Added equip load numbers for players to clearly see the threshold amount for their equip load. That might be my favorite change in the entire patch notes, dude. Please let me know what my weight. How do I stay under heavy? That's what I want to know.
Yep. It was very needed. Before, it was very much a guessing game. Nobody knew the weight, and you just had to kind of do the math yourself, and it was like very inconvenient to do. But for the audio listeners here, you can go to the patch notes and look at the inventory screen. They have a screenshot of it, and it looks really good.
I mean, our video people real quick here.
Yeah, there you go. It looks really, really good, man. I think that the addition of having the paper doll there so you can see what your character looks like with all of your equipment is awesome. That's something that I love to do in MMOs. It always triggers me whenever I cannot see like all the gear that I have on and what my character looks like. So that's one of the things that I want to do. I want to look cool walking around.
Flex on people.
Yeah, and if you can't see that, then it's kind of frustrating. So it's very good. And the way it's organized, I'm kind of OCD about things, and some of the things trigger me before. This is much better. Very nice, organized. The UI looks very good. Man, nice change. I like the UI in New World. I know a lot of people in the preview events, or not a lot, but I did see and hear some people complaining about it, on Reddit and some other places. And to me, the UI is great. It's very minimal. It's very organized, very compact. I like New World's UI a lot, and they just keep to they kind of doubled down on it here. They didn't change it completely. They just improved it, and very good, man. It's awesome.
First of all, I'm appalled that anybody would complain on Reddit. That's insane. And then secondly, yeah, dude, I love these changes. I like the idea, the paper doll, and it's a better paper doll in my opinion, because you get to see a live look at your guy in the background. It should make for some good screenshots, and maybe we can bait Taken into figuring that out for the builder. Good thing we said this an hour in. Hopefully he won't make it into this episode this far. He won't know he committed into that. He has to hear enough of our voices. Heaven forbid he has to listen to another hour of it, But all right, so here are the combat changes. Overall, I think those inventory updates are amazing. It goes to show, dude, they're tying this game up. They're wrapping it up in a nice bow for launch. And these attention to details definitely show that. So here we go. AI combat updates part 3. We've continued to tune and refine our existing AI combat experience. This release, we've updated another large batch of AI enemies. So that's great. Good to hear. Combat should feel different with each mob you encounter, which is exciting. Potions now have a cooldown timer. Potions of the same type will share a timer when consumed. All health potions, all health regens, manas, etc. Not allowing you to consume another potion of that type until the cooldown has expired. The act of consuming a potion is considerably faster and now allows you to slow down if you are navigating. First and foremost, dude, thank goodness for this in PvP, open world PvP. I can't tell you how many times I engaged with somebody and they would just go behind a tree and then chug 30 potions and then bang, bing, bang, boom. They're ready to fight again. So that I think it's a good change for both PvP and PvE. It's a good change all around. More because number one, yeah, absolutely, dude. And now this also forces you to have the proper tier health potions whenever your health goes up. Because before you could chug and chug and chug, so you could have a tier 1 health potion that heals you for 100 health, and you could just have 50 of them, and you could just knock them back. Right? You could just continuously knock them back and get your health back up to full. Well, now that there's a timer on there, you're now going to have to get the higher tier potions whenever you have more health, which is very good, I think, for crafting again overall. And just good for combat in general too. The potion timer is something that needed to happen. And it does say that it no longer slows you down if you are navigating. So before, I know in the preview event, there was a very long animation whenever you drank a potion. So if you're running around, you'd stop and drink the potion. Sometimes you would get hit or maybe even die in the act of drinking the potion. Now you don't get slowed down whenever you're drinking. So I'm assuming you can drink it easily on the run, which is very good, especially since there's a timer associated with that now. So now you can chug one while you're running, and then you have to wait 30 seconds to chug another one. This is a very big change to the game, to combat and crafting both, I think, and a good one. Yeah, very good one. The respective cooldowns are in place for these particular potion types. 10% for a mana potion, 10 for a cleansing potion, 30 for health potions, 30 for health regen potions, and 60 for haste potions, dude. So
a long time.
Pretty big cooldowns for health potions, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And here's another thing that we haven't quite talked about or mentioned, but dude, now they have another thing in the game that they can kind of maybe adjust or manipulate on gear. Like, what if there's a way like reduce your health potion cooldown by 10% or something, like some kind of alchemist armor that allows you to be better at using potions. I think stuff like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be interesting for sure.
So the default block angle is now 180 degrees in front. The previous angle was 90 degrees, which would somewhat times allow hits through even if it visually looked like the attack was being blocked. I think that's a good change because in this, for the sake of latency and all that stuff, there was a lot of inconsistencies with the blocking, especially in PvE. So it's good that they changed that. Updated functionality on melee attacks. Which melee? How do you say it?
Melee. I say melee.
You say melee?
Yeah. I
want to say other people don't, but maybe that's not true.
I don't know how other people say it. That's how I say it.
Okay, sure. Which should, I don't say it correctly, like other words in the English language. I don't know what I'm saying. So which should now have more consistent hits against shorter enemies or enemies that are above or below you at an incline, resulting in fewer misses while attacking. One of the things that this kind of reminds me of is like those ancients that have no legs. And I would be attacking and then whiffing every time, and that little crawler would just be, killing me, and I couldn't attack it. I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, it didn't even have a hitbox. But yeah, it seems like they made adjustments to that, which is good. All right, dude. So here is the big one: the attribute rework. Increase the amount of damage scaling per attribute point invested. So that's good. We want players to invest the appropriate attributes to use the weapon efficiently. Which is also good. Reduce the base damage of weapons to account for the new attribute point increase. So now, obviously, it's going to be more prevalent that you adjust your damage attribute effectively to get the most out of your weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
not much there.
They just adjusted it, which is fine.
All right, so here's the equal change. Tuned Constitution, so that the percentage of increase in health is generally equal to the new damage increases. So basically, these should scale at the same rate, or ideally, as the damage weapon.
Yeah, and I do think that one in particular is a big one because before you could just stack a ton of Constitution in the preview event, and that's really what everybody did. They stacked a ton of Constitution, didn't put anything into strength or dex, and you were very, very strong. You still did a ton of damage at a high level, depending on what weapon you had, and you just had a ton of health. So it seems like they've addressed that issue, and that's really good because Constitution, you just got a ton of Constitution. I think in the preview, like 75 points per point or something. It was insane.
It was a lot.
It was nuts.
And it's interesting, Bordy. They already had nerfed Constitution since the preview event, so this is another adjustment to that. So it shows that, like you're saying, it was a big problem in the preview event. So. Adjusted the way dual attribute weapons scale to make them more competitive with single attribute weapons to offer more build flexibility. Single attribute weapons still offer max weapon damage, but this will keep dual attribute weapons competitive. So here is a new list of the way that these weapons will scale off of attributes. Now, all of these single attribute weapons have a primary attribute, and they will scale at one time. So basically, you're looking at the percentage of 100% effectiveness with the stat. So you have the Warhammer and the Great Axe are purely strength weapons. The Bow, which is a pure dexterity weapon. Fire Staff, which is pure intellect, and Life Staff, which is pure focus, Bordy. These are pretty, those are the same for the most part as the preview event. So here are the new ones that have been adjusted. So for dual attribute weapons, the primary attributes listed below scale at a 90% change compared to single attribute weapons, And the second attribute on these weapons, which I would assume is the second one listed, compares at a 65% or a 0.65 times comparison of the single attribute weapons. So a pretty significant difference between the primary ones if you're using the secondary one. So
Yeah,
you're not going to want to build around your
change.
Secondary attributes on your weapons, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting change for sure, and I'm not sure how this is going to play out, man. I think in large part this is going to depend on where the soft cap lands for each of these attributes. If your soft cap is 60 for strength, dex, intelligence, focus, you have really big diminishing returns after that point, then you may be better off running like a sword and rapier or whatever, is something that has dual attributes and pumping both of those stats up to 60 so that you could potentially mathematically, I guess, get more damage if you had 60 strength and 60 dex out of the sword, because you're now getting 90% based on strength, 65% based on dex, whereas the Warhammer, you're getting 100% based on strength. But I don't know. I don't know what the soft cap is going to be on release. I don't know how this is going to play out. It's going to be interesting to see. This is a hard thing. This is kind of a hard thing to balance anyway, whenever you have these dual attribute weapons, because at some point, there's going to be something that is mathematically superior, I think, which is the way in all MMOs. But I do think New World does have the advantage of this being much more skill-based combat and action-based combat than just tab targeting. So I think this probably won't be a huge deal, but if in order to min-max, just looking at this on paper right now, you would want to go with one of these single attribute weapons.
Potentially. It just depends on if there's other gems that allow you to utilize the secondary stat more efficiently. Like you said, if the soft cap eventually mitigates the amount of damage you're getting to a point where you could actually get more damage out of adding a secondary stat, but that becomes complicated too, because then you're like you said, you're always going to have one of these different types of weapon types be worse than the other, and that definitely something you don't want to run into that problem, because people will figure it out and exploit it, and obviously it'll require some adjustments as time goes on, without a doubt. No matter what the situation is right now, this will be something they'll continue to work on for sure.
Yeah.
So armor changes here. Physical and elemental armor ratings now scale consistently across armor classes. This means that heavy armor now have the highest armor rating for both physical and elemental damage, while light armor has the lowest. This is a great change, Bordy, and one that makes 100% sense compared to the last way.
Yeah, this is another enormous change to the game, I think. And this is something that you and I have harped on for quite some time. And it's here, it changed, and this makes so much more sense than it did before. This is an excellent change.
Yes, we have a video up about this. If you haven't seen it already, breaking down this, with our more in-depth opinion about this. But overall, great changes. Each weight class has 3 different armor types as well. So this is in addition to these changes, they've now added ones that are more obscure towards physical, elemental, or balance. So that means if you get a heavy chest piece, it can still be more inclined or more loaded with physical damage as compared to elemental, like it was before, but it could also be the inverse way. So then you could get a piece of heavy gear that has more elemental damage than physical, like the light armor used to be.
Yeah, but then overall, that piece of heavy gear is going to have much more mitigation, whether it be physical or elemental, than your light gear would, which is excellent. Yeah, that's how it should be.
Agreed, 100%. So here, and you're thinking light armor sucks now. Why would anybody wear it? Well, here's why. The amount of armor wait, no, that's not the right one. Let's go ahead and say, well, where the heck is it? It's farther down there. Okay, I just teased something that we're not going to read quite yet. Stay tuned. Okay, so the armor that Shield provides has a reduced significantly. New damage mitigation bonuses are as followed: 1.35% mitigation for a round shield, a kite shield 2.6%, and then a tower shield 5.2%. And so these mitigation bonuses scaled down with higher base armor ratings. With the light armor, these mitigations numbers would reduce slightly, and with heavy armor, they'd be cut by about 50%. Obviously, this one, I think the idea here, Bordy, after reading this a second time, is just to make sure that, okay, you can still wear a shield effectively with light armor. They didn't want to make it feel like, okay, well, to get to get the best use out of your shield, you're going to have to wear heavy armor.
Yeah, I would assume so, man. It's hard to really speak on changes like this in particular because I'm sure that they've received feedback and observations from testing that have led them to make this adjustment and this change, for the way shields work. And it's kind of hard to say, like, sitting here right now, like, oh, this is a great change or it's not, because I don't know. I have no idea whether or not this would be a great change based on the preview event that was so long ago. I didn't really use a lot of shields then anyway, but I would imagine this has been tuned a couple times since then. So, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's a good change. It just looks like a balancing pass to the way shields work.
Yes, agreed. Last note on shields. Shield weights have been standardized across the tiers. There was an issue where maybe I think the higher tier shields were starting to increase in equip weight. And so then they basically mainlined those across the tiers, which makes a ton of sense. You don't want your higher grade or higher tier shield weighing more, causing more of a burden on your equip weight than lower tier. That didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, so equip loads. Here are the changes we're talking about, dude. We want each equip load to have unique roles and strengths. So we've made some major changes in the way equip load works. Light and medium equip loads now have a damage bonus. 20% for light armor and 10% for medium armor. Again, a great change for the equip load system.
Yeah, because now in conjunction with the better dodge roll, now you get more damage, but you have to sacrifice mitigation, which is exactly how it should be, man. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. Whenever you're wearing light armor, you should do more damage. You should be able to roll around and be fast. And I would like to see maybe some sort of potentially some sort of speed buff or something on light armor or something to that effect, and then I think it'd be spot on. But even now with the damage bonus, I think it's good, man. Definitely headed in the right direction, and these changes are great. So
the next note that we have here on the equip load changes are medium and heavy equip loads now get a duration bonus for CC. So you have 10% for medium and 20% for heavy for stuns, slows, and roots. Now, this gets a little complicated, Bordy, as far as balancing it with the actual damage bonuses because, these stuns typically last for like 4 seconds, I think maybe is the longest stun that's in the game. So we'll see. I mean, that tends to add up to about, sometimes like a fraction of a second, but maybe that's all that matters when you're talking about a powerful CC like a stun.
Yeah, and I would think that all this stuff is going to get looked at again. Would be my guess. These are such large changes, and this is the first time that they've changed them. I would think that these percentages and durations and all of those things will probably be adjusted again before release.
Yeah, I agree. Dude, I'm just excited overall that they're making changes to equip loads because other than the dodge roll, there wasn't much much purpose behind watching your weight, so to say. So now there's tons of reasons why you want to build around this, and I love that, dude. It should increase the build diversity significantly.
Yep.
Here real quick, they removed accuracy, grit, damage resistance, and stamina modifiers from all equip load bonuses. I guess some of these that were present are now not there because of all the big changes to equip load. They reduced block stability bonus from heavy equip loads from 35% to 25% and removed the penalty for light. So it seemed like they basically brought these all in line. Again, not to deter people from using a shield in each of the equip loads.
Yeah.
Next is the increased stamina cost for light and heavy equip load dodges from 40 to 50, and dodging with a medium equip load still costs 40. So, Bordy, here's an interesting change with light armor now, because maybe the dodge is so effective. Now it costs more, which is interesting.
Yeah, and this is one that I'm not sure I agree with, man, because you only get 100 stamina, and there's no way that I know of to increase that unless there's some kind of perk or something that I'm not aware of. But so now dodging with light armor, you're only going to get 2 dodges until you have to wait for your stamina to regen, which kind of is a pretty big nerf to light armor, really. And
yeah.
Now that they reduced, now that they made heavy armor like the go-to for all of your mitigations, I think you should at least get some sort of, maybe at least 3 dodges. I think 3 dodges before you have to wait would be really good.
So 30, maybe. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, like make it 33 or something, or make it make it 30. Make it cost 30. I don't know. I just 2 seems like a pretty big nerf, because before you could dodge like 5 or 6 times, I think, which was excessive for sure.
Yeah, you could dodge roll away from people.
Right. You could dodge for a long time and then run, and then you could regain stamina and then dodge and dodge. And so that was a little bit excessive, but I think cutting it back to now 2 is a pretty big nerf to light armor. So because that's what you want out of light armor. You're not wearing light armor for mitigation. You're wearing it for movement and mobility, elusive ability. To get away from people and to dodge attacks. So pretty big nerf, man. I'm not so sure I like that one.
Well, maybe
so we'll have to wait and see.
Maybe the 30 after they tested it was too much. Like maybe it's too cheap, and then you could do what you're saying, like maybe get like 5 or 6 dodge rolls. That's possible.
Yeah, maybe.
I guess it'll be mitigate or like changed over time if it isn't, something. But I agree. That's interesting that they actually kind of nerfed it a little bit as far as cost goes. So
yeah.
So medium equip loads thresholds reduced from 17.5 to 15, and heavy equip loads reduced from 3.25 to 330. So they basically brought all the equip loads down to repress the way that you're going to acquire these equip loads. So now it's even harder to stay in the light range.
Yeah, it is, which again is going to deter people more from going down into the light range. I'm not sure that the 20% increase in damage is going to be enough for people to want to wear light armor all the time, now that you have to just push it all the way down to 15 and you only get 2 dodge rolls. But then again, one of the things we're not taking into consideration, I guess, is that there are perks that you can get your equip weight low, so you can wear like full medium armor and then still be in the light equipment low category. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. These are some changes that are haven't really played. So it's hard to say like, yeah, this is going to be good or bad. But on paper, seems like light armor definitely got a pretty big nerf. Got a buff to damage, but then some other things that made it, maybe the damage isn't worth the other things that come along with it.
Yes, and we'll see. I mean, obviously it requires some testing. I'm sure, again, they're making so many changes so frequently that if something doesn't work, I'm sure they're willing to make the changes. So overall, dude, I think the equip changes are amazing. The equip load changes, and I'm glad that they added them with these patches. For sure. Last but not least are grit changes. So while grit is active, you're unstoppable, which means that the attacks no longer be interrupted. You will continue to take damage, though, and you can be killed during a grit attack. So grit has been removed from many abilities. So now grit is a very strong mechanic, Bordy, and I think it was on like probably an excessive amount of abilities, kind of making it to where like each ability you did, if you did an ability, could not be blocked or interrupted. So that kind of resulted in not as much counterplay as you would want in a game like this, an action-based combat game like New World. So they removed grit from almost all the abilities, which I think is overall a good change, because you do want those stuns and abilities to land effectively as well, because that can be a feel bad thing. Is what if a character that you're fighting always has grit on, and you have a CC that you would think naturally would work and disrupt that wasn't happening. So now grit is less apparent in the game, which means that stuns and CCs become more powerful. Yeah, which I think is a good thing, because grit could be very discouraging and very frustrating at times. So I do think it needed to be adjusted without actually getting in there and playing. It's gonna be hard to say like, oh, this is good or too much. Again, like some of the other notes that we've read here. But I do think grit needed to be looked at and adjusted, because it is incredibly strong. So it's I think it's good that they adjusted it. Yes, agreed. Because again, this was a lot of the problem with the preview event and people's complaints were there was like you could spam people and those light attacks were like stunning them. They fixed that. And then the grit problem, which is basically there's no way to interrupt someone from like their combos or attacks. And it just felt like, like there wasn't a lot of counterplay, and they fixed that now. So, dude,
Right.
a lot of great changes to combat, and it should be overall good. All right, so next episode, guys, we will go over the balance changes for the weapons. They're very detailed. They basically redid all of the weapon trees. So we're definitely planning on covering that in the next podcast. But that's it, dude. Those are the overall changes to New World. Massive changes, a lot of new additions to the game. But overall, dude, you can tell that this game is heading in the right direction as it leads up to the launch date.
Yeah, man, they put so much work into this, and it's showing. I mean, there's been so many changes since the preview, and they just continue to add what looked to be like really, really good changes to the game. Definitely headed in the right direction, and I'm excited. We're 4 months away from closed beta, bro.
Yes,
It's
sir,
crazy.
dude. Yes, sir. That gets me really excited thinking about that. All right, man. Well, why don't you tell everybody it is time for the company of the week?
Yeah, man. The company of the week this week is The Frost. They are an NA company, faction syndicate, English speaking, focus is PVX, size 26 to 50. They are currently recruiting. The Frost is not only a company of players with similar mindsets, but The Frost is a family of gamers looking to help each other along and guide one another in the process of becoming one of the most valuable assets in the syndicate that the syndicate faction has ever seen. Oh, yeah. Whether you're busy 6 days a week or you play 24/7, there is a spot for you among the Frosty folk. So it says that they are focusing on becoming professionals in every aspect of the game, not just PvP or crafting. They want to be proficient and professional at every aspect of the game, which is really good. So yeah, if you're interested in the Frost, go check them out. We'll have obviously links to their profile here on New World Fans in all of the descriptions below. They have a Discord server that you can get in contact with the leader there if you're interested in joining their company. The Frost sounds like they are a hardcore are trying to be a hardcore company, but they also accept members that maybe aren't so hardcore. So maybe they have plans to separate them or something. I don't know, but it sounds like a cool place to be, man. Sounds like a good company to be a part of. So go check them out, The Frost.
Absolutely, and we appreciate The Frost for creating a article on New World Fans. If you have a guild or a company, that you would like to advertise, jump over to New World Fans, create the account, dude. Tons of people are over there watching, looking for companies, and you could be the one that they decide to go with. So definitely do that. We appreciate them. And guys, it's been a long one. Thanks for hanging in here with us. I know our episodes are usually shorter, but there's a ton of information to cover, and I think next episode will be about the same. So again, guys, we thank you so much for your continued support. We were just talking before the episode about the delays and how long we've been doing this. This is episode 59, and we got some OGs, dude. It's going to be cool to look back even a year from now and see people that have been with us for 2 years, and we got to know that, dude, those are the people that hang tight, that lived through the delays and the alpha and everything like that. It's gonna be cool, man. It's gonna be real cool, and it's been a fun one, dude. These changes are awesome. It's exciting to break them down with you, Bordy. Thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you on another episode of New World to Go.